Greta Gerwig. Here she comes. Producer and star Margot Robbie.
Hi, Barbie!
And starring as Gloria, Ferrera.
Hi, Barbie!
So before we get started, we're going to take a little look behind the scenes of the making of Barbie. That was fun, wasn't it?
I know, it made us all kind of emotional.
Yeah. I just want to do the movie all over again.
$162 million on the opening weekend, right? Biggest movie directed by a woman ever. I wish we didn't have to say this section, but it's still there.
No, I also, but I mean, well, there have been other movies, and Frozen and Frozen 2, also directed by a woman. I don't want to forget that. And you know, there have been big movies directed by women, obviously, and like. There's no way we could be on stage and have done what we got to do if those women hadn't done it. So in no way do I don't feel alone in this place. I feel like there's lots of them who've come before and will come after. So it's wonderful to be here, and also it's nice to be part of a crowd.
And I'll just jump in and say what Greta is too humble to say is she has literally changed the game. From now on, it's different because of what she's done. It's massive. And someone is going to come forward with another original idea that requires a big budget, and there's going to be a female lead, and they're going to point to Barbie and say, yeah, but that made money, and everyone's going to go, oh, you're right, we're going to have to greenlight this. That's amazing.
Very well said. Very true. Greta, so Margot had the rights and she brought it to you. What was your first thought? I mean, it's a pretty left field thing to hear, oh wait, I'm going to make a Barbie movie.
No, yes, I wanted to work with Margot, and it was such you know, it's hard to sort of quantify an instinct, but I had an instinct that there might be something exciting and there. I think the biggest challenge was there's no character and there's no story. It's an idea, really. It's an object, but it didn't have. It was like it's an object that many people have many feelings about, and that was sort of the thing that felt terrifying about it. But then also like, okay, let's run at that. And so the way Noah and I work, we allowed ourselves to be kind of in this state of unknowing and find our way there through things that felt alive to us. And then when we were writing, actually, I knew I was writing for Margot, and then with a vast amount of ego also, then basically I wrote the part for Ryan Gosling and I wrote it for America, and then I said, now let's go get them. But I think it was part of that sense of like, there were no movies, so it was like, well, you might as well cast the movie that doesn't exist. It's like fantasy baseball, and then it came true.
With a budget, as Margot said, with a budget like that, I think, you know, there's probably a lot of pressure for other voices to come in with their opinions, and yet your voice remains, and you kept all the asides and all the jokes and all the things I know came from you. How did you resist that pressure?
Well, I think a big part of it was really having Margot and Tom and David and Robbie Brenner as producers, but especially Margot standing in front of it saying, like, this is the movie I want to make, and this is the vision I believe in, and it becomes, I mean, you're not fighting it alone, you're fighting it with a partner, and then the more actors you get, and the more collaborators you get that say, I want to make this version, then it's, then somehow you end up with a Proust joke in a Barbie movie, which it was actually wonderful. I got to see a screening in New York where like one woman laughed, and I was like, it was for you, madam.
Margot, when you got the rights to this, did you have an idea of a vision of how it could become this great movie? What made you go after that?
I knew it could be, in the right hands, something incredible, because everyone in the world knows Barbie. Everyone, like globally, if you look at a map, which we showed in the pitch presentation for this, it's like Barbie's recognition spans the entire world. And that's just a huge opportunity. Now, did I know how it should play out narratively? Absolutely not. The laws of the world, how we were going to address all the concerns. I knew we had to address all the concerns. I definitely didn't want to try and make like a puff piece of Barbie. I wanted us to run at the scary things as much as we celebrated the wonderful things. But that's exactly why I went after Greta, because I was like, she would do that. I've spoken to Greta before because I wanted to work with her for ages, and I knew that she has that cinematic brain. She's a cinephile, but she's also like completely up to date with what everyone's writing in the New York Times and what people are following on TikTok, and like she's just got a finger on the pulse of current cultural things, and she also like has her heart in the past of movie making and the techniques and all that kind of stuff. So marrying the two of those things felt like the right way to address this toy that's been around since the late 50s, and has caused so much controversy over the decades. It's like you have to hold both at the same time. You have to be an incredibly smart person to find a way into doing that. And if Greta said no, I don't know what we would have done.
So, obviously Barbie is so much about, here's the category that she can be president, she's the pretty one, she's this one. And I think as an actor, especially a woman, you're all too familiar with those boxes. And I just wondered what it felt like for you to go in there and really rip the lid off all that and expose it and live it, and kind of just say, hey, we're so much more than that, and I'm not going to keep quiet.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about the character is she puts herself in a box at the beginning. She refers to herself as stereotypical Barbie, which has negative connotations attached to the word itself. So she does go on this journey of stepping outside the metaphorical and physical box, and it was fun to map that journey. It actually was probably more of an exposing role than I've played before, which seems weird because you're like, oh, you think playing Barbie would be a very surface level endeavor, but it really ended up being extremely profound, far more vulnerable and exposing and special than I could have ever imagined it being. And again, that's Greta. Like, of course, Greta can tap into that and make something that is literally plastic feel so real and human and full of life by the end of the film.
America, we have to talk about Gloria's monologue. It's, I think, just under 4 minutes, and we don't lose attention for even a second. It's just so moving. I imagine everyone on set was incredibly moved when you were just saying the words. Tell me about putting that together, working with Greta, and just what it was like shooting that.
Yeah, well, when Greta sent me the script, she sent the script and then said, I wrote this monologue and I hear you saying it. And when I read it, I was so deeply moved by it. It's so true and beautifully written. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I can only mess this up. It's so beautiful on the page, but Greta is such an incredibly generous director. I mean, she's a visionary and can hear and see everything she wants, and at the same time has the capacity to invite in other people's souls and ideas. And so the first thing Greta said to me was like, well, I don't know, what would you say? And she's like, but what would you say if you had to, snap Barbie out of it? And I remember writing something that was very bad and sending it to you and Noah, but there was one part of it and Greta was like, oh, I love that part of it. And And then she put it in the speech, and we talked about it for months. We rehearsed at our house together. We shared articles and TV episodes and things that we saw in the culture that were like bubbling up, that this idea that was shared in the monologue. And we shot it towards the end of the shoot, and so I'd been sort of, I had so much pent-up energy to do this monologue, and we shot it over 2 days. It was deeply energizing and profound to get to bring that through, an incredible gift. I've never ever had an Academy-nominated director call me and say, I wrote a part for you. I just never. And she wasn't undocumented, and she wasn't a maid, and she wasn't, and on top of that, like, she got to have fun. She got to wear Barbie's clothes and be a part of the joy, and we don't get invited to the party like that. And so I have so much gratitude that Greta could see a bigger version of inviting someone like me and the kinds of people I represent to the party. And then to also give this character, yes, please. But then to also give that character the moment of truth. I felt overwhelmed by that, and I've spoken to so many mothers since Barbie came out, and they kind of have the same experience Gloria did, which is they're like, okay, I knew I had to take my daughter to see Barbie, and I had weird feelings about it, and then I realized, this movie's for me! And it was like literally that moment when Gloria goes, you came for me! And that's how I felt when I read the script, like, you wrote this for us. You wrote this for women, for moms to get to play and also to be creative and joyful and childlike, and at the same time hold the complexity and the heaviness and the truth of what it actually means to be a woman in the real world. And so we talked about it for months. We communed. And then when we did it, Greta just gave me so much trust and let me play, and I had Margot's eyes to look into and get lost in.
Bawling my eyes out every time she did that. They were like, the camera's not on you, and I'm like, I can't help it, she's so good.
Everyone, and one by one I would watch people stop what they were doing and just start sobbing, and it was men and women. It wasn't, I saw like all these, temper shooting and all these like British men who don't show emotion maybe the most easily, but like, and I was like, oh,
Look over and they're like, she got me on that one.
they got it.
She got me there.
These men, there were a couple moments that these men, and this was one of them, that they just really, they felt it, and it was, but also America let herself go to all these different, she did it so many different ways, gave everything. It was like watching, like, the Olympics of, like, you really, it left it all on the floor. It was amazing.
Thank you for inviting me.
There is so much to talk about in this film, in production, design, costume, everything. I could talk about it for hours, but I'm going to get in trouble backstage because we're out of time. I could go on forever. You guys are sad too.
Bye, Barbie.
Thank you everyone so much. Congratulations.
Is there going to be a sequel? Is there going to be a sequel? Hi, Barbie.